want to make your strokes as big as possible. When Starfire's still a baddie in this one, I'm gonna be honest with you. But I really like you don't really know what you're doing at the end of the day. So what's up, guys? It's AAA or Alex's Anime Art, and I'm back with another video. And today I'm gonna be drawing a DC comic book character called Starfire from the Teen Titans. You guys probably already know, but I'm pretty much just gonna be going over how I came up with this video idea, why I'm doing this video, and there's just gonna be some like art tips throughout for anyone trying to get better and things like that. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So I want to say the main way how I came up with this video, it's that like me and my brother, Right Fist, go check out his music. We were pretty much talking about how that we thought that Western comic books were like falling off, and like about how more people were like buying manga pretty much, because we see that like for example, you see that I think it was April. It was like April 2021, I believe, something like that. I'll put it up on screen, but it was the top selling graphic novels within that month. Within that month, I believe the top 20. They were all manga. It was like My Hero, Jujutsu Kaisen, Attack on Titan, I believe. There were some other mangas in there too. I can't remember them exactly right now, but we were pretty much talking about how Western comics pretty much fell off or are falling off, and people are starting to go to manga now. And you know, that's a huge dub for the anime and manga community right there. So I'm happy about that, but it's just sad to see how some of like the Western politics sort of like seeped their way into comic books when it wasn't really supposed to be there, and it sort of created like an alienation among fans. I've heard from some videos on YouTube, and that's just like not a good idea to put the politics inside of like your comics, because you're sort of creating something for an audience that isn't really there. But yeah, that's really the main reason how I got to do this video pretty much. And you know why we did it, because you know, Starfire, she's kind of bad though. I'm not gonna lie to you. Me and Marcus were talking about it. My brother, Starfire is kind of a baddie. That is kind of one of the reasons I wanted to draw it too. But also just that this is the first time I've ever really gotten to draw like Western comics, or the first time I've like attempted to draw Western comics. So I thought it would just be like a pretty cool experience to do that. But yeah, you see throughout this part of the video that I'm trying to keep my lines to a minimum. I'm not trying to do too many strokes, but it does sort of depend on your style in a way, because my style, it can be sort of angular, so I kind of stop in certain places. But generally you want to make your strokes as big as possible when you're doing line work or inking. I guess it applies to inking too in a way, but you mainly want to keep like your strokes generally as big as they can be. But once again, that sort of depends on your style. And you can also see the way that I'm doing shading as well. I'm doing the way I kind of like to do shading is sort of like the hatching, and I like to do parallel line shading, and I sort of got those sort of shading techniques from a channel called My Manga Life, and she pretty much went over certain types of shading techniques. But you guys want to make sure that you're going over and exploring certain like types of shading techniques, so you can help, or so you can like aid like yourself in the process of finding your a style easier. So yeah, that was pretty much what I was doing for this first drawing. There are two drawings, so I'm gonna be back to talk about this one, but yeah, this is pretty much the first one. And so now we're gonna get into the second drawing. Starfire still a baddie in this one. I'm gonna be honest with you, but I really like her overall design. The hair on fire thing, it just looks pretty sick, and I just it was just a cool thing to draw. And yeah, this is just pretty much the second drawing for you guys, and I wanted to give a few more tips because some people, or at least I don't know if people do this, but with with what I did when I first started drawing, I was mainly just drawing the lines on characters and things like that, and I didn't know the actual anatomy under hair, under clothing, and things like that. So make sure when you guys are drawing, you want to know the actual anatomy that's lying under the clothing and lying under hair and things like that, like if it's covered, because you you can copy line work of other people, and it kind of may look like you know what you're doing, but you don't really know what you're doing at the end of the day. You're sort of just drawing lines, and like, I'm not gonna say almost anyone can do that, but it doesn't really show you have like any, it doesn't really show your actual skills, and it doesn't even really show your fundamentals. So you want to make sure you know your anatomy, study books. um, I recommended a figure drawing book in a video I did a while ago. Uh, Trying to read up on that book. I can't remember the exact name of the book, but I'm pretty sure it will help you. But yeah. So yeah. Almost forgot to say this before I get off of this tip. Make with skin tight clothing. I mean, like, there's not really much to say on skin tight clothing. With skin tight clothing, the drawing anatomy under is pretty easy. It sticks to the skin, like, like with Spider Man, Batman, Superman, things like that. It's not really that hard to know what to do with skin tight clothing of the anatomy, but you still want to make sure that you know what you're doing. In a pretty much, you want to make sure that you know your fundamentals. Um, but yeah, I want to get your guys' opinions on this. Do you guys think that Western comics are falling off? Because from what I've seen is that people are more so going to the manga side. I mean, for me, I've never really been into Western comics myself, but it's kind of strange to see like comics from foreign places are getting more sales here than they are in than they are in America, which is kind of like, I don't know. Like, yeah, just let me know in the comments. I kind of want to have a discussion about that. If you guys think Western comics are falling off, it seems like they are, and I don't know how it's gonna be looking for them, but hopefully they can get their act together and stop infusing the whole like political thing they're doing inside of it. But this is not a political channel. We'll get off that. But yeah, I just want to reiterate the tips on make sure you're keeping your line strokes as big as possible. Once again, it does depend on your style a bit, because I do a bit of an angular thing with my style, as I mentioned before. But you want to make sure that you are keeping your line strokes as big as possible, because you don't want to keep stuttering on a line. The like it can be pretty easy to tell when you stutter on a line, because your line is just not going to look as confident. And you want to make sure that when you're doing these things that your lines are, like, pretty confident when you're doing it. And pretty much the same thing on shading. Again, make sure you study different shading tips, and like hatching parallel lines. There's stuff called like stippling as well. uh, there's a there's plenty of like shading techniques out there for you guys to find your style with, if you ever want to look into things like that or study things like that. But some of this stuff can probably be even a little bit easier on digital, and I might move into digital a bit later as well. But yeah, this is I'm pretty much just gonna leave it here. This is gonna be the second drawing for this video, and yeah, guys, I hope you like this drawing, or these two drawings for this video. So yeah, guys, it's AAA or Alex's Anime Art, and I'm out.